On it. Okay, guys, I guess we better start. So thank you for sharing. Let me put the screen on in a way that it's going to be nicely recorded. So thank you for sharing this hour with us. This is April 12th, 2022 SculpSlam. And this is a program of the New England Sculptor Association. And presenters today is in this order: Silvina, Mary's, Joshua, and myself. A little rule of the house, rule of the engagement today, just for everybody will be on top of it. We have a 60 minutes session. We have 4 presenters today. Each will have 10 minutes to present. All please mute yourself, and then 5 minutes Q&A after every presentation. It's a presenter self-pace. I will use the presentation that you gave me, and I will advance slides as you will instruct me to do. So whenever you're done, everybody please mute yourself. Doug, will you mute yourself, please? Thank you. So you'll have to tell me when you want me to advance the slides. Derek will be the timekeeper, and he'll provide us a warning after the 9 minutes, so you know you have 1 more minute to conclude. And at the end, if we have some time left over, we'll start a general discussion about whatever you want to. So let's have fun. Silvina is the first presenter. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
And here's your first slide.
Okay. Well, first of all, hello, everyone. I am a new member of the New England Sculptor Association. I am very excited to be a member. So yeah, thank you for offering me this opportunity. I didn't know exactly, so I thought that maybe just to do to show different series of different sculptures, how I started after I graduate, and then what are my pieces today, what I am working right now. So I am from Argentina. I studied in Argentina, then I spent 1 year in Israel, and then I moved to Boston. So I have been here for more than 20 years. And I divided my time in the last 19 years between my work as an educator at the Museum of Fine Art, that I am not doing it right now, and my work as a painter, as a sculptor. So this series that I want to, that they are, you can see now, this is a series that I did many years ago, like, yeah, when I finished the university, and all the pieces, as you can see, the first one on your left, they are made with elements from the house, from the kitchen. So the first one, the couple, is made with a can opener, and then the moon is it's a pizza cutter. The one in the middle, they have pasta cutters, the sunflowers and a pizza cutter on the top. And the other, the bird, they have keys and spoons. I was not using welding for these sculptures. I was using just epoxy, and I was doing patina on these pieces. Yeah, the next one, please. Yeah, there you go. So these are also from the same series that you can see what the one on the left that is made with spoons, and then the bird that is made with knife, with keys, and with and also with some spoons. Yeah, the next one. This is another series, so I am working more in this kind of pieces right now. I started, like, as I said, many years ago, but I am still working on this kind of sculptures. They are cast in bronze, so they are casted with a lost wax technique. And the amazing things about the casting in bronze that probably all of you know, but is that you can cast things that they are organic. So I love to play. So I make the structure of the sculpture in wire, in copper wire. Then I use wax to build the figures. And then in the first one on the left, you can see that she's holding an umbrella. So this is one of the cocktails umbrellas, that the one in paper and wood that I just immerse in wax. The one in the middle on the top, they have a sunflower that I really love them. So I was trying to see how I was able to incorporate it into the sculptures. And the last one, if you can see on the head, they have like an orange peel. So the arrangement on the head is made by an orange peel. And the dress, in Argentina, we have some cloths to clean kitchens and things that they are made pure out of cotton. So the dress of the sculpture is made out of this kind of cloth that we use for cleaning. Yeah, the next one. These are from this, yeah, as I said, they are cast in bronze. The first one on the left, it's with a doily. So that at the foundry here, I cast my pieces in Sincere Foundry, that now they moved to Ansbury. So they needed to cast the pieces separate because the doily was really thin and the sculpture they had, it was more thick. So they needed to take the doily out for the tutu of the ballerina and then combine the pieces together. The one in the middle, yeah, is a sculpture that was cast in bronze, but I went to El Diablo Glass that I was working also with then after, and they were the ones who made the shoe for me. And the last one that you can see on the right, I just found this bicycle wheel on the street that I really love it, because even though you can see it from the front, if you see it from the other side, it's completely bended. So it's not like perfectly. So when you see the sculpture from the front, you can see how bended the wheel is. And yeah, and I started from there. I started just from this wheel that I found it, and I said, well, maybe I can play with the figures on top. Yeah, please, the next one. These are also, yeah, the same thing, just pieces that they are made out of wax and then cast in bronze. The thing that I can say about these pieces is that I never work with a model in front of me. So I can work with a model in front of me. So I need to have the idea in my head. Many of my pieces, they are inspired by dance, by music. But I really, sometimes I make a bosset, sometimes I start working, just bending the wire, and just the pieces are coming from this thing. So this is probably, you can see that the sizes and the things, they don't match the reality, but it's really because I prefer not to use the model in front of me when I work. Yeah, the next one. Well, these are, so as I said, I work in mixed media, I work in casting the pieces in bronze. That it's a kind of expensive, so it's not something that I can do all the time. So sometimes when I sold one piece, I am able to keep casting. But this was a commission that was by the Museum of Fine Art in 2018 for the Hanukkah celebration. And I had the pleasure to just work with John Clark, that is the one who you can see that is doing the glass. And I created design and we worked together. And the idea was that this Hanukkah menorah, they represent, you can see that they represent the stones of Israel, the stone Yerushalmi, that they have this like a kind of yellow color. And that they were destroyed from the temple, and Sean created these beautiful flames with glass that they have on the top. They were a rotation system, and they were changing the color. So every day when they were turning one of these ones, they were rotating all the time and changing the colors of that. Yeah, and the next one. This is something that also I really, really enjoy. So it's not just by working in my own projects, but to do community projects. And during COVID, Jewish Art Collaborative was commissioned to, instead of doing Hanukkah, they couldn't do it at the MFA with the 4,000 people as they did it before. So what they did was invited we applied different artists, so they create community projects to celebrate the light of Hanukkah in different neighborhoods. And my idea was to create these sculptures that you can see the girls on the left and the woman in the middle. That the idea was that everybody, I was doing workshops with this group that is Divas Mentoring Divas, this girl on the left, and then people with mental illness from the seniors for the Hebrew living, but because the families didn't want them to be photographed, they allow us to photograph them, just the hands, and it was really, and then the idea was to combine these figures in the image that you can see on the right is the installation in Harvard Square. And it's made, so all these figures that the people create, they weren't combined in a big sculpture that was made with recyclable bicycle wheels, that they were connected one to each other. And the piece was—
Excuse me, Sophia, sorry, but that's 9 minutes.
Oh, okay. And I think I am almost done. So the next one. And these are projects that public art. Right now, I have some pieces in Jerusalem and in the old city of Jerusalem in a street that is called Rock Mamila. That is the one on the left. And on the right, you can see an installation that I did last year for Concord, for a pond in Concord that, that is with welding and plasma cut. And I think it's the last one, right? Yeah, and this is the last one. So, yeah.
Well done. That's 10 minutes. So.
Okay. I don't know if the questions are coming now or they are after, but whatever they decide, it's fine.
What was the last piece made out of that you spoke about?
The last piece is for the Art Rumble in Concord, and the idea was what is in the air was the theme for the sculpture, for the installations in a pond that I can't remember the name of the pond, but it's in Concord. And I did it with the plasma cut technique that I was taking during COVID some classes at the steel yard in Rhode Island. And this was part of one of the exercises that I combined it to have the piece to put it together. So yeah, and I am using the same technique now for the next exhibition that is Studios Without Walls that is coming in May. So I am using part of the things that I learned at the steel yard.
Excuse me. So Savannah, what? Nice with the early pieces. What's the scale of those? The tall, thin figures. How big are they?
Excuse me, I can hear you. What?
At the very beginning, the earliest pieces here. How big are they? The scale.
The first pieces, they are the size of what. Well, I put an extensions on the pizza cutters or on the pasta cutters, but they are not more than, I said 50 centimeters. I don't know, in inches, probably it's like 20, 25, 30 inches tall. Yeah.
Savina, how big is the one on the left on the public art, the one in Israel there?
The one in Israel also, I think is this one is 40 inches high. Yeah. And it's also made, it's the one that I showed in the piece before, that they have the orange peel and also they have some twigs on the arm. So I really have fun with all these little things that you can cast. But at the foundry, they don't like it because they are so skinny and so thin that it's very hard to cast. But yeah, but usually I add some elements of organic materials that I am playing around on the pieces. Yeah, and I have 3 more pieces on the exhibition in Jerusalem right now that they were gonna be there for 1 year. They are outside, but what I love it is the possibility, because never I had a chance with the size of my sculptures to have an exhibition outside, even though they are bronze. But what they are doing in this place is they are covered the sculptures in the pedestals with a kind of plexiglass. So it's the first time that even though I have the bronze sculptures, I am able to have the pieces outside, that I am very happy without that. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah, thank you for your questions.
thank you. Thank you very much. And if we have more time at the end, we can have more questions. So, Marys, are you up? And
I
see
am.
you.
Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, we can. Let me switch back to the presentation. Hold
Before
on.
you start.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we starting?
Yeah, you tell me when you're ready and I'll put the first slide
Okay.
on.
The first thing I want to say is that you've got my name as Margaret Barreto, and only my mother ever called me that.
It comes on
Just
its
for
own.
FYI,
Okay.
it's Maris.
Okay. Here we go, Marys.
Okay, you can do the first one.
Can you see
Well,
that?
I do, but I don't know why I have that
Okay,
picture there.
so how
Go to the
about
next
this?
Oh, we missed the first one. Well, okay, this is good enough. First of all, I named it Through Line. I don't know if any of you ever listened to that podcast, but what I have way too much stuff I've done. I'm old. I've been making artwork in all different forms. You name it, I've done it. But so I wanted to, in this Through Line thing, start with a very old piece. And this is papier-mâché, if you can believe it, because when I was in college and after college, I couldn't afford to use any really expensive materials. So this is a quite huge front line, the front range of the Rockies as I saw it as a kid growing up in the Denver area. The view from the Great Plains was this incredible thing. And I probably also should say my father was so keen on taking us everywhere. We explored all parts of that state, which is just miraculous and breathtaking. And it's even hard to describe. It's the vastness of the place. You can see that there are striations. I think that came out of my 8th grade geomorphology class, and I got really caught up for a while in just seeing the layers and everything. So we're starting really early. This is 1974. Next. Again, this Through Line, these are installations. This went with that front range picture. This the thunderheads that well up. Generally, in the afternoon, they well up in the west. They're these ginormous thunderheads, and they can become very violent. It's something pretty amazing to see if you live there. So again, it's papier-mâché with a neon thing. 1974. This was a really terrible slide. I'm sorry about that, but I'm a terrible at photography. And this was at the Newport Art Association, so-called in the day, and now it's the Newport Museum of Art. Okay, next. Okay, now we're going to flash forward to 2015. I had the opportunity to join in a show in Carbondale, Colorado, which is quite near Aspen. And I had it with my high school friend, Lynette O'Kane, and another person from this area, Wendy Prelwitz. So we came up with an idea of crossing longitudes and cross currents. So this is in a little western town in the mountains, a show. I had this installation. What was I going to do? I came up with this idea of using these bronze filaments as tumbleweeds, which are pretty prevalent in Colorado. And Lynette's husband is a rancher, so he helped me string the barbed wire. So that was the installation. You can see a little bit on the left, one of my older glass pieces. And the reason it's there is it was a gift to my sister, who does live in Colorado and has a mountain place. So everything was coming together with the in Colorado, which hadn't happened for me before. Next. Okay, here's a detail of the tumbleweeds. They range from tiny to ginormous. They're actually pretty cool because they're indestructible. You can throw them around, kick them around. If they get dirty, you can put them in the shower. Just used lacquer to spray paint some of it. You can see a little ribbon through it. There's the story going through it because I had written a short story that winds through it. But it's hard to see them in the install, but they're pretty quirky and fun. Next. Okay, now what happened? Okay, I'm in Colorado, and this is back home for me. And right near Carbondale is a town called Marble, Colorado. And Marble, Colorado has a huge quarry. My friend Lynette says, well, why don't you get some marble from Colorado and do something? So that started me off. I found somebody that I could work with. And so again, sort of harking back to, remember the cloud? This is called Chinook. That's a type of wind that you will have rushing down the mountains and under certain circumstances that well up. And also the waves, like they look like waves. So that's the marea. But so these are the marble from Marble, Colorado. Next. Okay, going right along. I got hooked. You're missing a whole batch of the artwork I'm just giving you up to date. Okay, more marble from Colorado. This is called an enso, and this is tapping into my love of Asian art, especially Japanese art. The enso is the brush stroke that is beginning and end. With you can see the little filaments, bronze filaments inside. Again, you can see connections. I was lucky enough to have my daughter live in Japan for 6 years, so a lot of incredible stuff rubbed off on me. But this is the enso. Backstory, this is what I made, the sculpture I made for my lovely Pooh Bear dog when he died. Next. More marble from Colorado, more Japanese influence. This is called Twins. And so I had 2 slabs that were fabricated for me. With, again, you can see the energy from that little bronze filament thing there. It's twins. This is actually my son-in-law and his brother. They're identical twins. And I don't know, I just wanted to capture that moment when they become 2. So next. Okay, now we're up to date. This is the piece, the most recent piece. And if you hark back to the Front Range papier-mâché thing, you see you can't get the Colorado out of the girl. And also you saw the Chinook winds and the Front Range type thing. Again, marble from Colorado with me casting the glass pieces that fit onto them. This piece is going to be in that Cape Cod Museum. I applied to it. So that'll be the first time this will be shown. Next.
Excuse me, Maris, that's 9 minutes.
Okay, this is it. Just a detail of Mile High. You can see that the cast glass, the lovely thing about this one, it's in my, right now it's in my living room, right in the south part of the house, and the light changing at minute by minute is I'm pretty excited about that. I was really happy with that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Maris. And let's open up the floor for any questions, any comments.
Hi, Maris. Great work. I'm wondering how you cast the glass.
I have 2 kilns. This is, see, this is hard to tell you all I've been through from 1974 until 2022. But somewhere in there, I got a kiln because I was doing ceramics, and I was reading the directions that said, well, you can cast glass. I thought, oh, I think I want to try that. And I'm lucky enough to live in Rhode Island, where you just scratch the surface and you find an artist or any artist doing anything. So I hooked up with some glass artists, and I got a very large kiln and started making molds and casting it that way.
So are you doing a pot de verre?
No, actually, I started doing something that I thought was pâté de verre, but it's not here. I haven't shown it either, but it's actually what my the guy who does my cold work says. It's Maris de verre, because it's not a paste. I completely invented something that I thought was pâté de verre, but pâté de verre is actually sort of like clay glass filled in, but these are just molds I make with vermiculite slabs, and I put it in a kiln.
I'd love to catch up with you sometime. I do casting and blowing as well. So.
Oh yeah, great. You can help me.
Yeah, we should mind meld sometime. I actually lived in Rhode Island for a while and worked for Howard Bentray, Dan Clayman, and a few other
oh God, Dan Clayman is my friend and go-to person. He always gets cold workers for me to.
Yes, Dan's a great guy.
I'd love to meet with you, Sean.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Derek here. Barris, are you in the Newport show right now?
I am. That twin.
I thought it looked familiar. The marble with the filaments. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in there.
But yeah, so we shared that. It's if not anyway. Yeah, good.
Excellent.
Maris.
Excellent.
By the way, and why the tech I've never seen bronze, filament stuff before.
I'll let you in on a secret. It comes as screen. Somehow I was doing another project and I saw in this it's screen like you have in your window. And here, when people sometimes will have bronze screen at the shore because it gets a great patina.
Right.
And so I started playing. I'm very playful with everything.
Right.
And so I started stripping the screens apart, and
great.
filaments just went wild. Then I said, oh boy, what fun.
No, that's terrific. I didn't know if it was industrial waste, but no, you made it yourself, right? Good.
Yeah, it almost killed me too. Dan Clayman's daughter had to help me strip the screen, so I had all those filaments.
Right, right.
Josh, you had a question?
Yeah, I was wondering where the blue comes from in Mile High. Is that a part of the glass?
Oh, now you want my super secret, huh?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't mind. I had this idea that, and glass casting very tough. I'm not a glass artist. I'm a sculptor. But what I wanted was the two different materials, but I wanted some color drifting through, but I didn't know how to cast it that way. So what I did, drum roll, I spray painted the bottom.
Ooh.
And so, I mean, that color is, you can't see it directly, but when the sun moves through it, you can see the, you know, glass and the color coming through. I give that trick to you.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Marys.
You're
It was
welcome.
great. Thanks again. And we'll move to Josh. You ready?
Yeah,
Okay, here comes the first slide, 10 minutes.
sure.
Go for it.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Joshua, or Josh Reuter. I am on the A&I committee as a part of NESA, and really happy to share my sculpture with all of you. My work is mostly in stone and metal. I work with marble fragments that I find at old quarries and rusty metal bits that I cut and bend and re-weld back together, trying to create new human forms. And recently I've been really trying to make more activated and animated pieces that really exist in this world. And this one, Into What Shall I Pour My Love, is one of them. I've also been trying to experiment with titles and using that as a form of communication. And even like in this one, giving the sculpture itself a voice. Next, please. This is another piece that I did in this past year called Testing the Waters. It's about 4 feet tall. The stone at the top of it, the stone hips, has a quartz vein running completely through it that I did not carve at all. I carved up to the sides of it and exposed it more, creating the hips and legs, and then extended it with the pieces of metal. And I had a lot of fun with this piece. I think it's playful and hesitant and doesn't really know what to do. And I wanted to reflect that in the title and also call attention to these funny little steel testicles that were from a kitchen, an odd kitchen implement that somebody gave me that I cut up, and they just worked perfectly. Next, please. This piece is actually created from all things from Colorado. I went to Marble, Colorado for this yearly stone carving summer camp that they have. I like to call it summer camp. They call it a symposium. And I found all of these pieces. The base I found on a hike when I was acclimating to the place. It's rimmed with quartz and has quartz veins running through it. And then I found this fun little marble shard that spoke to me as legs and a figure. And I thought it went the other way, it was leaning back and had swagger and stepping forward. But as I was carving it, the piece really spoke to me that it wanted to exist the other way. And that's something that I try to do a lot, is listen to what the fragments want to be and bring that out. And now we're going to move on to a series that started in 2016 called Mindscapes. I've been trying to reimagine this series and retitle all of the pieces. I avoided titling them. They were disembodied heads that I didn't know how to complete. And so I called them all Mindscapes and gave them numbers, but I thought that was really hard to, it was hard to communicate with people about them, and I wasn't using the full potential of the title to communicate with people. I thought about, but I want to keep the connection to the series. So I thought about having them in parentheses. I don't like that. We go to the next slide. So I want them all to just have new titles. This one, the first one, I'm calling Point of Origin, and both because it's the first of the series and because the head starts at this one point and expands out. Next. This is actually the third in the series. The second one was a experiment and didn't work, and I'm now excited to rework it and turn it into a new piece. This one I'm calling I'm Listening. I wanted to call attention to the stone ear that I found in this fragment that I'm really excited about. And it doesn't have a mouth, but I was trying to imagine, like, if it said anything, it would just kind of whisper, I'm listening, and just be there to listen to you. This piece was exciting for me because it was the first time that I used a river stone as a base to be like neck and shoulders, but also to exist as a ground plane and like stand in for the earth that we're all stuck to. Next, please. This was a fragment that somebody split off of a larger sculpture. On the left side, you'll see these like fins of stone. There were a bunch of drill holes, and in between each of the, like, there were 2 sets of drill holes, and I carved out a void in between them to expose those fins. I had a lot of fun getting to like working with a single plane and then having 2 completely different faces happen on either side of it, but then have to bring it back together in the back to create a completed sculpture. And so it became divergent convergence. Next, please. This one, number 5 in the series, I'm really unsure of what to title it. I've been working with a friend to come up with some ideas. I found this piece of marble at an old quarry sitting in a stream that smoothed out and made all these crazy textures that I loved, but there was this one break that created the cheekbone of this head. And then, so that got me thinking, oh, now I want to work it and carve it. And I exposed the cheekbone more and defined the nose and the eye and gave it a hint of lips. And so I thought about calling it Time Smooths All Breaks, but time didn't do the polishing. I did that. So it went to Defined by Fractures, but I think the best one that I like is Response to Fracture, but I'm interested to hear any ideas that anybody has. Next, please. This one's called I Contain the Voices and Memories of My Ancestors. This is, it's 6 feet tall, and I made this metal base to help raise it up to be at the height that I want to, and like use the space of the pedestal as a part of the sculpture. And I found this piece and started carving it, and there was this one main head with a long neck, and then I found a nose in the throat, and there's a quartz eye on the other side that you can't see. And then in the back of the head, there's also this other nose and a subtle brow ridge that I was able to carve out more. And so it's this like one piece, but it has these 2 other spirits contained within it. And I thought that it needed to have a voice. So this is the new title for it. I Contain the Voices and Memories of My Ancestors. Next, please. This is the most recent one in the series. Mine say 7, but I have no idea what to call it. Nothing has come that works quite right. This piece was found in a road that leads up to a quarry that has a lot of water running through it. So the water has run over it and accentuated these cracks and rounded it. But I went back in and started working it. I carved the top of the head and polished that. And the whole left side has like a band of polished. The nostril is defined on that side. And then on the right side, there's a little carved patch that's defined by a quartz band. And I want this piece, I want all my pieces to actually be touched, because the polished surface is lovely. And I want you to like put one hand on its cheek and one hand on the back of its head and like hold it and look at it.
Josh, that's 9 minutes.
Perfect. So those are my thoughts about this piece. We'll go on to the last slide, which is a sculpture that I'm working on. It's not complete, but I'm really excited about it. It's called Help Open Their Heart. It's life size, 6 feet tall. Has a carved stone heart torso and this door, metal door on it that's going to be hinged at the top. And there is a carved rectangular recess behind it. And there will be a seated bronze figure in there and a little doorknob on it. And hopefully the title is enough to get people to, and the doorknob, to come and open the little door and see it. But as soon as you let go, it will close and you won't be able to see the figure anymore. And when it's fully installed, it will be buried, the bar at the bottom will be buried in the ground and it'll just look like it's standing there. That's the end of my presentation. Thanks so much for listening. Any questions?
Josh, I have a question. It's Rebecca. Titling is really important part of my work too. And I really like a name to connect, to tell a story, to leave unanswered questions. And just to be, and I'm just wondering if you have any rhyme or reason as how you choose a name besides your series you couldn't think of, like through stories that you've read or movies you watched, or do you like use a thesaurus? Like give me an example of how you'd come up with a name.
Yeah, so I've been experimenting with what a sculpture would say as possible titles, but a lot of it is coming from the ideas that are ruminating as I'm making the piece. And I do use a thesaurus a bunch to help hone in on the words. And then I just speak about it with friends and other people who see it and try to work through the titles to find something that sticks.
One quick addition is then, would you say that you just come up with the title of your work as you're making it or after you're done with it?
It usually happens afterwards and is time consuming and difficult, almost as much as actually making the thing. But every once in a while it comes together just right and I figure it out as I'm making it. It just hits me.
Nice job, Josh. Good to see this stuff. What's the scale of the Mindscape ones, the series, approximate?
They range from like 18 inches to 6 feet tall.
Oh, okay. So because I know you mentioned the one was 6 feet with a metal base and stuff, but okay.
Yeah, the other one with the metal base, Divergent Convergence, is also 6 feet tall.
Okay.
I agree about the importance of the name, mostly to get people thinking and leaving it a little amorphous so that they get to fill in the blank as well, which is kind of fun. Like, what does that bring to them about the ancestors, or, so I think that I really love that part of it. I wonder in your Mindscape 7, if you need to work it a little more.
Work
maybe
the actual stone more?
Maybe that will bring something out to you. Just curious. That one seemed to me to be the least affected of the series that you had done, because the other ones you really see things in them. And that one, I mean, I was trying to look with my glasses and get really close. And I just wonder, I put that out there. I don't know if you feel finished with that or not, but just curious about that.
Thank you. Yeah, one of something that I am constantly trying to figure out and work on is how to document my work and fully capture a sculpture, especially one that I want people to actually touch in images or maybe even videos. And I think that a lot of the work on that, the image that I like there doesn't show the work of the other side of the sculpture, which is good. It's a good note. And then I have also since made a metal base for that piece that raises it up to be at eye level. So maybe seeing both of those would trigger something.
Yeah, that would be better, just to be
try to
right there with it.
get
Yeah.
some photos.
And Josh, this last piece in progress, will it have another arm or not?
No, it will not.
Oh,
have another-
Okay, all right, yeah.
I wonder how you attach the arms to the stone. How you do the
Attaching metal
connection.
to stone has been a fascination of mine for a really long time. I frequently drill holes into the stone, and I have glued things in, but I try to actually make all of the connections be physical if possible. So I glue nuts into holes in the stone, and then I can bolt things to that.
Okay.
Sometimes I also, there was a piece, the first piece I showed, Help Open Their Heart. That stone has no holes in it, and there were little metal tabs around it. And so it's like set like a stone in a ring, like a piece of jewelry. And so sometimes if something is light enough and I don't want to drill into it, I'll do something like that.
Josh, are you using an epoxy or like a PC7 or PC11 type of thing?
I'm using epoxy to glue that in.
Sorry, I don't want to wrap, but I'm the timekeeper, so maybe we should make sure we get enough time for Tzvi.
Okay, thanks, Josh. And let's move on. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then what motivates me and what kind of work I do. I define myself as narrative-driven, abstract, blah, 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 blah. My goals are very simple: make people think, suggest new concepts, and reflect on our being, minor things. This is my workshop on the right side. I moved to a new house in July last year. And it's beautiful and nice, but I do prefer to work on the outdoor workshop, which is on the left side under the deck. It faces a nice water flow and tree and water running, and all of that is way more suggestive to artwork than enclosure inside, being as good as it is. My home is my gallery and studio. My job in my family is to make stuff, and my wife arrange stuff. So we coexist very nicely and beautifully. I'll talk about my preferences. Others may say my biases. Don't bother to read. I'm going to go one at a time. So the first one is continue to explore new concepts. So I prefer not to do series of themes, and I'll describe quickly the scope of what I do. On the left side, this is a parenthood, a wood sculpture, line work. Above it, relationship, more volumetric type of work. You have two pair of expressions looking one at each other from the corner of their eyes. Genesis, I just found a wonderful wood, pure timber that can be, by watering it or moisturizing it, you can bend it and create whatever you want out of it. This one is called Bereshit Genesis, and you have the material underneath to create words, and the first words are, of course, the first words of Genesis. In the middle, one heart was my tree in my old house, and it died, and I felt very bad for it, and I created a green sculpture. Typically I don't work with green wood, but that's one really called me to do something, and it's called One Heart. I do collect sea glass, regional sea glass from the shoreline, so I do two things with it. I do sculptures and clean up the beaches. This one is called Politically Correct, and you can see the gesture of the body walking over shards or glasses trying to be correct. I do find sometimes pieces of wood floating in the pond next to me. What's the name of it? Never mind. So this one is two fish, two headless fish, but the company is more important than having a head here. I do work with clay, epoxy clay. Essential Node is an example, and I do work also with clay in combination with wires. This is the rightmost caught in time. You can't really see what a person is caught in a web of time. I pursue concepts and idea over media and performance. And what do I mean by that? Expression on the left side, it's a simple pieces of wood that you can buy, find at Home Depot, fir wood or pine wood or tulip wood. The concept was more important here, having three different expressions, three different parts of expressions, and you can actually twist them right and left and select the expression that you want for the day. The three more expressions on the other side that will form instantaneously. Stepping down, this is made out of plywood. I took pieces of plywood, glued them together, and created the effect of leaves and stepping down. Beauty was that tree that died out, the branch of the tree. It was really in bad shape, infested with molds and mores and stuff. But nevertheless, it was beautiful enough and intact enough to show its beauty. Layers was another piece of discarded wood, and it was very important for me to retain the look and shape of the bark. It's very coarse. It's not smooth, but it has a raw affinity to it, which I wanted to retain. It is important to me to avoid perfect symmetry and redundancy. I try to avoid it. I try to do balance sculptures, but not symmetrical. So in this example, reflected control, which is epoxy clay over plexiglass, you will not find a symmetry line in this sculpture. Apply holistic flow to the entire piece. A couple of examples. A question on the left side. This is a redone sculpture, which the original was lost between a show back home, so I had to redo it again. But the point is, make sure that all the lines, or most of the lines, have destiny in which they meet and create a whole impression or a whole image. Fractal S, I don't know if you know what fractals are. These are basic structures that repeat whatever scale you're looking at. Like if you look at the shoreline from a satellite view, the line of the shoreline, if you go zoom in, you can see the same basic structure appears and reappears. In this case, in my case, fractal S has the letter S, and you see the whole shape, but the whole shape is being made by little shapes and so forth and so forth. Even the base has an S shape. And finally, parenthood. It's a good example of how line coalesce together and combines together to form an impression of two parents and an offspring in the middle, and everything comes from the same point and ends up at the same point. It's important to me to integrate the base into the sculpture design, and the two ways that I do that, either to do a complementary design or contrasting design. On the left side, Bereshit, in Hebrew, it's in the beginning. It's supposed to reflect the divine spark, or the initial spark, or the first spark and whatever. And then the universe started to evolve and created a wavelets that expands over time. You see that the base is part and complementary of the whole design. Woman's sail, the idea here is a pregnant woman carries the premise of the next generation and the next form of life over the wave of life. In this case, again, the wave, the base, is part of the design itself. Contrary to that, the base could be contrasting, like circular view. This, by the way, was the first sculpture I ever made back in 2004. Supposed to convey the perception that things go in circle, and there's a point of singularity between the infinitely large and the infinitely small, but they don't really connect. So to contrast that continuous flow, I felt I have to do something that has a cross section actually to it, a crossroad to it. And finally, on the right side, flowering. The top, by the way, if you connect all the pieces at the top, it comes together as a puzzle, as one big square. But it's an analog view of flowering. At the base is a very rigid, very digital form of skyline, let's say New York or big city. So I wanted to combine both of them together. It's important to me to make the sculpture through 3D to be seen and have a different view from every direction. So in this case, this is an angel and the wings, which are supposed to be nice and beautiful, actually tools of hard work. In relationship, the one I mentioned before, if you notice, there are two pairs of figures looking at each other. And this one has a little trick because typically your eye goes after the profile or on the outskirt of the image, and you see the profile until you notice that every pair has a pair of eyes looking at one at each other. So I'm trying to pull the attention outwards and then inwards and make it interesting that way. And finally, I think the most important to me is love what you do and do what you love. And a couple of examples, the nursing is a scrap piece of olive wood that somebody gave it to me, and quickly, and immediately I saw a nursing figure, and it was very important to me to bring it out of this scrap. Typically, I do have a name of what I want to do. I do have a concept ahead of time, and not often I changed it, but sometimes I see stuff in a scrap piece of wood or something that makes me follow that vision rather than try to impress my thoughts on that.
All right,
Conquering
that's
Earth.
about 10 minutes. I'm sorry, let it get away from me. Go ahead.
Okay. Conquering Earth, we, the humans, our DNA is starting to squeeze Earth. Theory below, when you encounter something that you have no understanding what it is, and you try to apply your old frame of thoughts, you have to throw it away and look at what you're looking at without any prejudice thinking. And finally, quantum knowledge. I don't know how much you know about quantum theory. It's basically divides the things between something exists or something does not exist. That was simple enough, and then comes the quantum theory and shatter that, because things can be in flux in between. Go figure. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, V.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I love the pieces. They are really, I feel that they are so organic. So my question is, in some of them, your technique is carving. So most of them, you are carving the wood. And some of them, as the parenthood, is you model in materials. So you use these different techniques, or all of the pieces are just carving?
Wood, all of them are carved.
Ah, okay.
I just carved them in different, either a part of a whole or carving that to be a whole.
Ah,
Like the
okay.
piece with the rotating slides. So I carved every slide on its own and then put it together on a central pivot, so we can rotate them one next to the other, against the other, and choose the expression that you want to combine.
Okay. Thank you.
I really love that last piece, Parenthood. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really beautiful. And when you're making I know I've done some mold work with Pete, but when you're making some of those pieces out of resin, you can make a mold that thin? Like the flower one that was not symmetrical? That was pretty impressive.
Right. Well, I don't. I make the skeleton first out of metal wire or something.
I see.
And then on top of it, I add the epoxy clay. I mean, if you know the material, it's really a wonderful material to work with. It's clay. It doesn't shrink, it doesn't move, it doesn't do anything. And it gives you about 2, 3, 4 hours to work with once you mix up two parts, part A and part B. And then afterwards, you can carve it, you can drill it, you can paint it, you can stain it, you can do whatever you want with it. It's a wonderful
Oh,
material.
so you're not making a mold out of it. You're not doing like
No.
plasticine and making a mold.
No, I have no idea how to make a mold.
Oh. What is that called? Epoxy clay?
Epoxy clay.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Well,
Thank you,
thank
Zvi.
you again. It was a great hour. Thanks for the presenters. And next month, we have another 4 presenters, and we'll let everybody know about it. So thank you.
Thank you for organizing it, Zvi.
You're very
great
welcome.
job.
My pleasure.
Yeah, good job, Zvi.
Thank you, Zvi. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
And
All
speed,
right.
next time I'll probably have figured it out. So
And
we'll-
everybody should
11
invite
months.
everybody to
11
the
months
next
now.
ones.
Anyway, but it's good to see everybody. Good crowd of 16 at some point, so it's good.
Everybody keep telling everybody about them. The more people we have, the
Absolutely.
better it is. So it's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
No, this is terrific.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you,
All right.
guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Be well.